Made one up on his own that it was certified and sent that into the state, and on its face it looks pretty good.
From 1979 to 1984, Pruitt taught math at the local high school. But one former student tells District Attorney Paul Phillips that Pruitt failed as a teacher.
She said he never actually taught a single class. He would just tell them to look at their book or whatever. And of course, these children, they're not raised to question authority. They're proud of their school. They're hesitant to complain about a teacher.
Especially a teacher who had coached the girls' basketball team to statewide victory.
He went to the state championship for the first time in a great number of years.
3 years after being fired for lying about his teaching credentials, Pruitt lies about his military service and manages to collect $30,000 a year in disability.
He forged his discharge from the military and placed on there that he was recipient of numerous Purple Hearts and Silver Stars, when in fact he was merely a mechanic in Vietnam and really wasn't in the combat role.
He was probably drawing a bigger disability from the U.S. Army than most people make working for a living.
Then, investigators discovered that Pruitt began taking out various life insurance policies in October of 1998. 2 months before the crash. The policies total $1 million.
There were about 10 different policies. Now, the bulk of the money only came from 2 or 3. Some of them were for very small amounts that you just get out of a brochure that came in the Sunday paper. Others were for small amounts where you would get when you opened a checking account or had a loan with a mortgage company.
I knew nothing about him. He had told me at one time that he had insurance, that if anything happened to him, the house would be paid for. And I don't know what amount that was.
On a call tape recorded by an insurance company, Pruitt is heard checking on a policy he took out for $200,000. When the agent tells him that he can't find the policy on file, Pruitt is obviously annoyed.
So I'm not covered until
the first premium is made.
Well, I'm just very upset that when I called before and that it wasn't taken down then. What something happens to me?
It only takes about 2 or 4 weeks for it to go into force anyways.
According to Pruitt's will, his son Jody is to keep $200,000 for himself and put $220,000 in cash in a post office box addressed to Joseph Pruitt.
The purported will really wasn't executed according to Tennessee law. It was handwritten, and this particular thing directed people to do stuff that normally wills don't direct. You don't put in there, well, take cash, go put it in a post office box.
My dad was like that. He was weird. Like, he handled things so weird that it was just, you just accepted it was his way. Me and my dad had never been really that close, and I felt that this was kind of like a bond to bring us together.
His dad is here saying, I love you, I'm about to die, I have this inoperable terminal cancer, and I'll be dead, in a short period of time, and I have all these insurance benefits.
Now, Pruitt is dead from a car crash, not a brain tumor.
I was almost relieved for him that he supposedly died fast so that he wouldn't have to deteriorate and go through all the pain that he was going to have to face.
Just a week after his death, other family members also get haunting phone calls. They decide to record them. In this taped conversation, a man calling himself a state attorney Taylor Davis talks to Pruitt's sister about getting the death certificate.
Is there anything that we can be doing to hurry anybody up with a death certificate?
Yes, they are. That's where his wife would come in.
His wife could help us.
Yeah, that's the reason I suggest her when they turn the body over. The certificate should have been there.
Right then.
99% how it goes. They're under a 6 weeks obligation because they've already delivered the body to the funeral director.
Police come to believe that the caller is Pruitt himself, who is obviously still alive.
He was trying to prompt them to put pressure on whoever here in Campbell County that needed to be pressured to get this death certificate done because he wanted that money. He was trying every day. He was just pacing the floor, waiting till he made that big lick. He was going to be a millionaire.
He's a tremendous actor, but he's not a good enough actor to disguise his voice well enough to call from the other side of the grave and not have people realize this is our dad calling.
If in fact the phone caller is Joseph Pruitt, where is he?
The phone company was contacted, and what's known as a trap and trace was put on all the phones down there. So no matter which one of the family members he called, we were going to be able to trace it.
On January 7th, 1999, almost 3 weeks after Pruitt had supposedly been buried, they traced the calls to this apartment above an antique shop in Corbin, Kentucky. It is only an hour's drive from his home in Stinking Creek, Tennessee.
We watched the house for approximately 2 hours before they got all the paperwork done to come to actually knock on the door.
When they do, a woman answers the door and tells police Pruitt is in a bedroom. There, he surrenders.
He didn't say anything. He was passive. He knew he was caught.
When Pruitt's friends and family hear that he is alive, they can't believe it.
My sister called me on the cell phone. She said, Joe Pruitt's alive. I said, yeah, right, and that's not possible. We buried the man. And of course, he supposedly had been burned in his car beyond recognition, so it was a closed casket funeral.
And when police tell Pruitt's wife, Marie, that he was found hiding out in a woman's apartment, she is actually relieved.
We thought it's a miracle. I guess they expected me to be angry at Joe, but I wasn't. Because during this whole time, I just, I've been praying that it was all a mistake or, just a bad dream.
Pruitt is charged with faking his own death.
He just kept saying he didn't remember, that he didn't do it. And I wanted to believe, that he didn't remember what had happened. A few months before all this happened, he would get up in the mornings and ask me what day it was, and he would say that he didn't remember, or if he'd been somewhere the day before, he didn't remember where he'd been.
With Pruitt alive, the mystery deepens. Who is the dead body police found in the car? That's next. At the time police arrested Joe Pruitt for faking his own death, they were also investigating the disappearance of another man, 26-year-old Charlie Bryant from Williamsburg, Kentucky. Detective Eddie Barton talked to his father.
He said, Eddie, he's a little bit slow. He said, now he's not really retarded bad or anything, but he'll do anything anybody tells him to.
He was trusting. He'd trust anybody.
According to Bryant's family, Charlie had been missing since December 15th, 1998, the day of the fiery car crash.
The last time I spoke to him was on the phone, and that was 2 days before he disappeared. He was thanking me for a Christmas present that I gave him, and I was going every day and hanging up flyers and questioning people and trying to find him.
But I told them they didn't need to hunt for him, that Charlie was dead. I knowed it.
May Bryant remembered having a bad premonition about her son when she heard a car pull up to her house on December 15th.
He said, I'll go see who it is. I knew in my heart there was just something different, the way I felt.
Didn't even hear the door slam on the car, and it was as if they forced him into the car.
And that was the last that we seen Charlie.
Investigators got their first lead into the disappearance of Charlie Bryant when they arrested Joe Pruitt. Although Pruitt wasn't talking, the woman whose home he had been hiding in was.
The lady herself told us exactly how it was set up, and it was set up through Bobby Canada.
Detectives called Bobby Canada in for questioning.
After his first statement where he disclaimed any knowledge, he started putting himself at the scene of the crime, and he first said, well, he just picked Pruitt up.
Police then asked Canada if he knew Charlie Bryant.
He was a good buddy of mine. We'd been friends for years.
But Canada denied being with Bryant on December 15th.
Do you remember seeing Charlie? Anywhere or anytime?
Not that I remember.
As the questioning continued, Canada finally admitted that he had been hanging out with both Charlie Bryant and Joe Pruitt on the night of the car crash.
We was all pals. We was all out to have a good time. We was all drug users and partiers and stuff.
When the Bryants found out that it was Canada who picked up their son, they were angry, but not surprised.
Neither one of us liked Bobby.
Matter of fact, my wife run him off several times. He kept coming back.
They said Canada only befriended their son